Hi, welcome back to another edition of the Coach's Corner. With me today, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, in the flesh, Clayton Helford. And also with us, in the flesh, our special guest this week, Isaac, a fellow brother from the East West Football Network. Today we'll be previewing the Dolphins and Bills. What a huge game, fellas. I mean, think of it this way. Last year about this time we're thinking, well, Buffalo's going to make the playoffs, but what team are they? Can Josh Allen lead them to a playoff victory? This, that, and whatever. This time last year, the Miami Dolphins were, they were kind of at the end, winning streak. They're playing good football, but they're like, oh my gosh, they have all this draft capital. Now flash forward a year, and they're both. The Bills are going to make the playoffs, and the Miami Dolphins are on the cusp of making the playoffs. So what do you guys think for this game?
I can go first. I don't remember if it was Isaac or if it was you, Justin, that said it just a little bit ago, but the first thought I have is if Tua struggles, who do they bench him for? Because Fitzpatrick's out with COVID, right? So who's going to come in for relief of Tua if they decide to do the two-quarterback program? But that's where, if there is adversity, that's why it makes no sense to me that they pulled Tua earlier to not let him grow in those moments and face that adversity. And so he's prepared for a moment like this where, this is a big moment for the franchise. Win, and you're going to the playoffs. And it's like Dolphins fans haven't even sniffed the playoffs for several years now. So it's like this is just a big moment for them. And it's unfortunate that these are the conversations we're having instead of talking up to it, being like, you know what, this kid's a winner. He can go out and do it. Instead, we're being like, he just got benched. Is he the right guy to do it? And that's the storyline that I think is going with it. And adversely, you look at the Bills, and they don't necessarily have to play as hard because they're locked into the 2-3 seed. When they get the 2 seed, presumably with a tiebreaker with Pittsburgh, and there's still a scenario where they can lose this game and still get the 2 seed. So there's not a lot of pressure from the Bills here.
I totally agree with you. I think that if you're looking at the Bills, they've really hit a hot streak, really. And they're playing really good football. And then that's not to say that the Dolphins aren't playing good football, but like we said in the last Dolphins video, the review, I don't think I think we can all agree that their current quarterback situation is it's not sustainable. There has to be a guy that just takes the bull by the horns, and it has to be Tua. Because Tua is a long-term answer. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, but he's the guy you drafted in the first round, so you're going to have to give him that shot. It's definitely not, Ryan Fitzpatrick in the future. It's Tua. And I think this is going to be a huge game for him. And I think that you could maybe, chalk this up to being a bigger game than those national championship games he's played in. And here's why. There was so much talent around him in Alabama that he always, he could always rely on having a stellar defense. As we talked about, he had all these first-round, picks at wide receiver, solid tight ends, great running backs, great offensive line. The NFL's different. You get talent not based off of recruiting necessarily. You could view drafting as it, but, as soon as those rookie deals are up, some of those guys are going to have to get paid, and you can't always afford all of them. You can't just sign every free agent off the street because there's something called a salary cap. So, with that being said, I think more of this is going to fall on his shoulders. Are they going to, run the ball? I would venture to guess they're going to try to run the ball a lot more to take some pressure off him. But there are going to be, 3 or so throws a game that Tua is going to have to make to win this game.
I agree. I think this is his time to prove that he is the future quarterback for this team. If he wins this game, he brings the team into the playoffs. We're not going to have the conversation of Ryan Fitzpatrick being the quarterback of that team. Like, Tua needs to grab the bull by the horns. He doesn't have Fitzpatrick on the sideline in this game as he's on the COVID-19 list. So you said it right. This might be the biggest game of his career yet. And if he loses this and they don't make the playoffs, I think it's going to mess with him even more mentally. But all the mental health that we've talked about and him getting benched, if he comes out and he wins this game and he has a stellar performance, I think all that goes away.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like an avalanche, snowball effect. Momentum is, and you have to start it somewhere. And if he gets this win, I think you're going to hopefully start to see, that snowball of just momentum and confidence rolling down the hill his way. Any bold predictions for the game? Tua throws for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Anybody?
I'm not going to say that. I think Miami does find a way to win, but I think it's more on the running backs.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to actually include Ahmed more in this game, but it's going to be a big Myles Gaskin game. Tua throws maybe 1 touchdown, but he does enough to win the game, something we've seen him do in the past.
For sure. Any bold predictions, Clayton?
Well, I think ultimately that's what Tua is. We've kind of covered it already. You do enough to win. You're not going to come out here and you're not going to put up video game numbers. You're not going to look like you're playing Madden. So, yeah, I think that's what Tua does is he puts his foot down, and I hope he does because this is a big game for him mentally to say no more quarterback carousel. No more of this. It's me. And you know what? If he doesn't pull it off, it's a rookie year. There's a lot that could happen in his career. He hasn't even played the full season, but like we've already discussed, warning signs are there. So, that's just something else that you would evaluate going forward is, okay, so here was this big moment and he didn't deliver for us.
Mm-hmm.
Something to think about.
Yeah. I guess to conclude, I think that, for sure, they're gonna lean on those 2 former Husky running backs, and I think that they're gonna lean on their defense. I mean, they have, Xavier Howard and Bryce or Byron Jones are still healthy, right? I mean, those are 2 legitimately good corners that they're going to be relying on. I think they'll probably have Howard on Diggs, I would imagine, to kind of slow down the Bills' offense. So it'll give him a chance there. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Tua. Can Tua make those rough, 3-ish throws in the game that is the difference between you winning a game and losing a game? Because I still don't think that Tua is the type of quarterback that'll lose you a game. But right now, he hasn't shown he's a quarterback that can go win you a game. But if you guys think otherwise, don't be afraid to let us know in the comments. Don't be afraid to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notification bells, and thanks for tuning into this week's edition of the Coach's Corner.